Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the A-Side. I am your host, Riley, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. If you're a new viewer, if you're an older viewer, you know I used to do this all the time. We're going to be ranking a band's albums from worst to best, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite bands of all time. I've loved this band since middle school. They're a top 3 band for me now. That's My Chemical Romance. I love My Chemical Romance. I've been listening to them since 7th grade. Of course, I have all their CDs, including the greatest hits, a couple records that we'll look into in a little bit. I love this band a lot. My friend Mikey was talking on Twitter the other day, and he said, "Hey, Riley, from the A-Side, the man, the myth, you should make a video ranking MCR's albums." So, here I am doing that, and I hope you enjoy. And remember, this is just my opinion. If you disagree, go ahead and leave in the comments what you think, how the MCR album should be ranked. There is no definitive answer. All of these albums are, for the most part, amazing. And I will be including Conventional Weapons just because their discography is so short. Now, with all that being said, if you're new around here, go ahead and subscribe. It's free. You can always unsubscribe if you want to. And it really helps out the channel a lot. We're almost 200 subscribers. I'm so excited. And for everyone who has subbed, thank you so much. And if you enjoy this video and you want to see me kind of make more of these ranked videos, maybe more on these kind of 2000s alt-rock bands, maybe like The Killers, Panic at the Disco, leave a like, and I'll rank some more 2000s bands. Anyway, let's just dive right into it, man.
For my enemies through a party, would you light the candles, would you drink the wine, and would you television?
So, coming in at number 5, probably to nobody's surprise, is the last thing My Chem worked before their breakup, is Conventional Weapons. Now, Conventional Weapons is a compilation album which consists of unreleased songs that the band had made throughout their kind of discography. Think like Weezer's Death to False Metal. That's pretty much what this is. And they took these old unused songs and put them on this record and released them in a series of singles and put them on the compilation album that we know as Conventional Weapons. Now, Conventional Weapons starts off with its best foot forward with the song Boy Division, which is the best song here. It slaps so hard just immediately off the bat. It is so intense and aggressive with Gerard's just gravelly vocals right out of the gate and these hard, heavy drums. And eventually the guitars start swirling about. And it's just a very intense song, especially when we get to the chorus and it slows down and once again explodes near the end with the "Sing a Song for California." And it really is just an amazing song. Very aggressive and very full of intensity. And the other highlight on this record for me is The Light Behind Your Eyes, which is an absolutely beautiful song with these swelling strings. It's a pretty heartbreaking song. And it seems to be, how I interpret it, is Gerard Way is the one who's dying, or the main character who's telling the story is the one that's dying, and he is comforting a loved one who is there with him as he dies. And I think that's a really interesting concept, and it gets to be a really heartbreaking yet beautiful song about when you lose someone who's really close to you, it hurts, but you should keep going, you shouldn't let it make you lose the battle as well, and I think that's really interesting, and it's a very, very beautiful song. During the MCR's throwaways, and I mean, near the tail end of their career at the time, they could write these amazing, beautiful, heart-wrenching songs. But that's about it on this record. Honestly, this might be an unpopular opinion. I'm not a huge fan of Conventional Weapons in the slightest, actually. Tomorrow's Money sounds completely unfinished. And the rest of these songs just sound like they could be written by pretty much anyone. They're just your standard 2000s, early 2010s kind of alt-rock songs. They're not very interesting, aside the fact that it's other MCR music outside of the 4 main records. Make Room has lines that would be used on Na 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 Na. Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to die. So hearing that, it just feels like such a pace breaker when you hear that, because you're familiar with it on a much better song. So that song is definitely a low light. And the rest of this record's just pretty much kind of there. It's pretty boring, and nothing that MCR, I mean, could write this stuff in their sleep, honestly. So yeah, not necessarily a huge fan of this one. I don't ever really come back to it outside of those two tracks. I mean, unless you really, really despise the sound of Danger Days, you're not going to get much out of this one. And outside of Boy Division and The Light Behind Your Eyes, I recommend skipping it.
Shotgun sinners, wild-eyed jokers, got you in my sight.
Now, I can't stress this enough. Now that we're at the 4 main MCR studio albums, I need you to know their main discography, in my opinion, is nearly flawless. I love all 4 of these records we're going to be talking about immensely. So don't get too mad that coming in at number 4 is 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, because this album is as amazing as everyone says it is. It's fucking amazing. This album's a masterpiece, right? This album is amazing. So why so low, right? It's just the one I kind of come back to the least out of any of the MCR albums. And that's not a dig at it. It is the only one I don't own on vinyl out of the 4 main ones, and that's just because I haven't got around to it yet. So yeah, this is the one I just listened to the least. Still, I've listened to this record a lot. I mean, a lot. Like I said, I've been a huge fan of MCR since middle school. So, yeah. Now, I put this low just because it's the one I come back to the least out of the main 4. That being said, this record's still amazing. It's really one of the defining sounds of kind of 2000s alt-rock, emo-inspired sides of pop-punk. It's a big debate whether MCR is emo or not. I fall on the, I think MCR is emo side. But this record definitely has far-reaching effects on bands outside of emo. I mean, Fall Out Boy, and so many other bands that come later after this record obviously drew so much inspiration from this. I mean, Your All Time Lows, pretty much any band that came afterward. And I almost feel like bands like Power Royale are still trying to rip off the sound to this day. This kind of gothic-inspired emo sound. I mean, if you listen to the opening track, Helena, which is absolutely beautiful. I mean, it goes from slow, beautiful choruses to the big chorus. You can definitely hear a bit of a goth influence there. And of course, in the fashion, I think feels very goth in places. I mean, look at this album cover. It's more emo, goth than emo, but I think lyrically it falls a little more on the emo side of things. And I just think it's a really interesting way to take rock. And it's proves at an early stage, only their second album, that MCR can really pull off quite a grand concept, this record being kind of about this person who dies and has a list of names in a book he wants to take revenge on after he's dead. That's kind of the whole concept of the album. And of course, there are a lot of amazing songs on here. Don't stop if I fall and don't look back. Oh, baby, don't stop. Bury me and fade to black. Hang 'em High has, of course, that great chorus I just mentioned. And it's got more of like a Western tone to it with like the whistling and stuff going on. Just an amazing record. Give 'Em Hell, the second track on the record, has this great bass line, and Gerard comes in with his vocals just like a punch in the face. It's a super punchy and aggressive song. Of course, this is how we like to do it in the Murder Scene. It's a lyric that sticks out because, the Murder Scene was the live album for this. And going back to the End is another great song. You Know What They Do to Guys Like Us in Prison. It was an early favorite of mine. Getting into this band, still love it. I'm Not Okay, I Promise is a song that's helped me through a lot in my life, one I relate to so much I can't help but scream the lyrics every time I hear it. I mean, the guitar riff at this point is iconic, and so is the bass line, honestly. Most of You is a beautiful, haunting song that I always kind of associate with the music video, but even apart from the music video, it's just such an evocative song of so many emotions. It's beautiful. It's beautifully depressing, even. The same can be said for Cemetery Drive as a song that's beautifully depressing. I think of the kind of whispered vocals and the keys on that track. Just wild stuff. I love this record so much. So that's why it's kind of sad I have to put it in 4th place. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention Thank You for the Venom, which is one of my favorite songs in the record, has one of the best choruses. Give me all your poisons, and give me all your pills, give me all your hopeless hearts and make me ill. We're running out of something that you'll never kill. If this is what you want, then fire at will. Shows kind of Gerard breaking down this extremely toxic relationship where it feels like this one person is like, I mean, giving him all this poison and pills and just making him feel terrible and destroying him because of the toxicity in that relationship. Not to mention the great guitar tone here and the guitar line that opens it is amazing. And this entire record as a whole is just amazing. I mean, the music speaks for itself, guys. Go listen to it. So coming in at number 3, probably pretty controversially, is Danger Days, The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys. I love this record so much. It is, of course, one of my favorite albums of the 2010s. I have it on vinyl right here for y'all. On purple vinyl, actually, the first, and I think still only purple vinyl I own. This record, just through and through, is amazing. It's MCR's departure from the kind of emo sound after the Black Parade. Because how are you going to follow up a record like that? I mean, how are you going to follow up their first 3 records? I mean, at that point, MCR wasn't, according to Gerard at least, wasn't even supposed to make another album after the Black Parade. So this one kind of came out of nowhere, and it was a 4-year wait. Which at that point, I mean, there was only 2-year gaps between the first 2 records. And MCR kind of radically changed their sound on this album. They went for a more dance rock, kind of pop rock sound. Lots of synthesizers and big choruses, and the songs are a lot brighter and just completely different tones than what we've got beforehand. But it doesn't mean they're bad, because MCR proves they can do this sound to spades. It opens with Na 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 Na, which is an absolute adrenaline rush of a song. It's just such a banger the entire way through, and I think that kind of stays throughout this entire album. I mean, Party Poison, those drums and the big hype chorus is another song that's just pure adrenaline and energy. I love Party Poison. I mean, the same goes for Planetary Go, which is definitely a lot more electronic and pop. It's got these synths and this kind of dancey beat to it. The boom, 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 boom. And it's definitely something different, but I think it works extremely well, and I think they pull it off. It's just a lot of fun, and I think a lot of this record is just fun, and it's cool to see MCR take on these different tones. Bulletproof Heart is a great love song. I've got a bulletproof heart, she's got a hollow point smile is one of my favorite lines from this record. I think it's always really stuck out to me. I think Save Yourself, I'll Hold Them Back Tonight is a great song filled with this intensity. It almost sounds like something you'd hear at like a fight scene in a movie, or when people are going to a fight scene. Just the entire vibe of the song, the melodies, just all of it creates that kind of emotion. Listen to some of the lyrics. I mean, you must be ready for a firefight because the devil's got your number. If you sing these words will never die. Save yourself or hold them back tonight. It sounds like something from a fight scene. It just has this great intensity to it. And the same can be said for Destroya, which is this wild song. Once again, Gerard's vocals here are so weird when they come in, and they're like layered. It starts off with like bongos, and then Gerard's weird ass lyrics come in, or vocals come in, and once again it has this like great intensity and feel to it, and it's MCR really experimenting, and there's some weird shit on this song. I mean, some weird shit happens, but it's so cool, and I think works throughout the entire time. I think Scarecrow is unlike anything MCR had ever made before. This song is like falsetto harmonies. It's so weird, but it's something so out of left field for MCR, but it works just so well. It's super catchy. Move your body when the sunlight dies. Everybody hide your body from the scarecrow. Everybody hide. And maybe I'm a little biased. This is an album I've listened to a lot. That chorus makes me so nostalgic and makes me just feel so many things. The same can go for The Kids from Yesterday, which is a beautiful song. You only hear the music when your heart's about to break. We Are the Kids from Yesterday. This song resonates with me extremely. And of course, it does take on a bit of a popular tone. It's a soft song. It's got like what sounds like drum machines, if not super kind of processed drums. But I love the sound, and I love how emotional it is. And it feels like such a great bookend to MCR's career, this being their last studio album as of this moment. Of course, they're back together. But it feels like such a bookend for MCR, and it feels like a bookend in my life too, you know? It's something that makes me reminisce on MCR's career and all the stuff their music has done for me, and the times they've been there since 7th grade when I heard them, throughout my entire life. Now a freshman in college, and I still come listen to this band sometimes when I'm sad. They're still like my third favorite band of all time. They were my second before Brand New topped them. But yeah, the Kids from Yesterday is one that just sits with me emotionally. And I think Summertime is really cool too, as it's definitely the sweetest song MCR and Gerard has ever written. I don't think they've ever written a love song quite this sweet. You can run away with me anytime you want. Um, that's very different for MCR, and that's the thing with this entire record. Is it's a one big experiment, and it pushes MCR's music in such different direction and brings in for the first time synthesizers and like drum machines and these dancier elements. It doesn't take itself as seriously as some of their earlier albums. I mean, of course, I don't think Three Cheers or Black Parade always take themselves super seriously. They have their moments. But this record just feels so much less important, but in a good way. It's an album where they're cutting loose and having fun, making these party bangers, and just experimenting with different things they've never experimented before. They have these super weird, kind of intense songs. They have these dancey bangers, and then along with some super sweet and sentimental songs. And I think it just works. And MCR is just winning my favor with this album, as they always have, and I can't say enough glowing words about Danger Days, MCR's kind of wild experiment. And not everyone's gonna like it. People are gonna be like, oh my god, go back to the past, work with Rob Cavallo again, whatever. But I love this album, and it was my second favorite for a long time, actually, until one kind of started to grow on me over it. But yes, Danger Days is an amazing album, and I didn't even mention the concept or the graphic novel to go along with it, because there's so much to that. Um, and we've already gone on long enough about this record, but yes, it's just MCR's kind of bold, electronic-driven experiment, and I think it's something you need to hear. So coming in at number 2 is I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love, the debut MCR album. Now, I have this on vinyl, of course, and I also own the CD, which is actually pretty rare. I think it's going for like $50 on Amazon right now. At the time, it was even more expensive. I got it for my birthday one year. I was so excited. And I still love this record to this day. Here's my vinyl copy, of course. I have the Urban Outfitters kind of rust red copy, or whatever the fuck they want to call it. Aside from the stupid coloring name, because I bought a record I was thinking was going to be red, and it was more of a purple, Bullets is an amazing album and an amazing debut. It's so much more raw and stripped back than anything they've ever made. Gerard's vocals is more shriek than it is sing throughout the entire album. But kind of that raw and stripped back nature, and kind of how a little more lo-fi it is. I use the word lo-fi very lightly. I mean, it's not like the Bandcamp Car Seat Headrest albums, but especially when you compare it to a lot of like popular rock at the time, a lot of the bands that would get big, including MCR. I mean, if you listen to like the Black Parade and then Bullets, the production style are leaps and bounds. I mean, even if you compare Bullets to kind of Three Cheers, it's so much more raw and aggressive and angry and distorted and loud and messy, but that's part of the charm of it. And it gets such an aggressive, angry, just ultra emotional feel out of the entire record. Everything Gerard says and all the feelings here just are so much more amplified by just the raw feeling of it all. It's so real. And I think that's really cool. And I love Gerard's just anger and screaming throughout the entire record. It's super heavy too. Some people will even call this metal album metal. It's definitely metal-esque. Some of these tracks get really heavy. I mean, you listen to Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough for the Both of Us. That very opening riff is crunchy, and it crushes, and it's loud and distorted. And of course, Gerard is pretty much screaming throughout the entire record. It is pretty close to metal. And that's pretty cool. I mean, post-hardcore too, emo, whatever. It's just a very different record, and such a bold record to start with. I feel like a lot of people won't like this album because it's so much more raw and so much less pop appealing. But some of these records are... some of the songs in this record are just amazing. Like Cubicles is one I love. I love the chorus. You don't work here anymore. You're just a vacant 3x4, and they might fill your place, a temporary stand-in for your face. Such good lyricism. Of course, like I said, the rawness and pure emotion makes it feel so real and makes it hit so much harder. You've got the epic 6-minute closure, Demolition Lovers, which tells this amazing story of two lovers who are destined to destroy each other. And it goes through so many different emotions. It starts off kind of slow and somber, builds up. Eventually it gets this big, all we are, or bullets, I mean this, all we are, all we are. And then finally it like explodes. Our bullets, I mean this. And everything, it just really hits that crescendo in an amazing moment. It's the perfect way to close the record. And it's honestly probably my favorite MCR closer out of all the closers. This one is my favorite, including Famous Last Words, which is amazing, but I do prefer Demolition Lovers. Skylines and Turnstiles is the first MCR song, and it's about Gerard experiencing 9/11 firsthand when he was in New York at the time. Of course, they're a New Jersey band. Vampires Will Never Hurt You is just a classic song. Once again, it's just another super heavy, hard-hitting song with that little whispered outro. But one of my favorites on this record actually is Drowning Lessons, because it's, one of those heavy-hitting, loud, raw songs. But then at the end, the very last couple of minutes, or not even minutes, like the last 30 seconds, it just goes in this, like, super beautiful, little passage, and the guitar sounds so pretty. And you can hear the Thursday influence a little bit on here. Yeah, especially in that moment, but that moment is so beautiful. That you're like, wow, and it's such a contrast. You hear this heavy, aggressive, raw, almost metal song, and then it ends with this beautiful passage of like these twinkly sounding guitars. Drowning Lessons kicks ass. Head First for Halos has that big soaring chorus. We'll fly high. And a great riff. So yeah, and Early Sunsets over Monroeville is a bit of a slow burn, but in the best way possible. It is just 5 minutes of you being on the edge of your seat listening to the story. Just an amazing record, and I just love the raw, angry aggressiveness of this record. As I mentioned, I think that's a big part of it for me, is just how unproduced this is, and how maybe a lot of people aren't going to like it because it is so unproduced, and so aggressive, and so kind of untamed, but it has this fire of a new band, and they're promised so early and showed how much talent they had. I do think this album's a 10. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. And yeah, you just need to listen to it to understand for yourself.
So shut your eyes, kiss me goodbye, and say.
So if you've known me, you know I love this #1 album, right? It's my third, maybe even second favorite album of all time. This album helped shape me as a person and my music taste and everything. and it feels like an integral part of my identity at this point. It's something that's been there for so long, and something that's touched me in so many ways, emotionally and mentally, and a shoulder that's been there to cry on for pretty much half my life now. I mean, 7th grade for me would have been 6 years ago. I'm 18, so not quite half, but did I do that math right? And if you've known me for a long time, before this channel, even if you've known me in real life, you know how much I've talked about this album over and over and over again. I've talked about how much I love this album, how much this album's a masterpiece. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I think this album's a masterpiece. If you follow me on Instagram, you know how much I love this record. This is a fucking Black Parade. It's the greatest album ever made, right? This is one of the, if not the greatest album ever made. Definitely one of the greatest albums of the 2000s. I mean, a few of you can't split out as my personal favorite album of all time, but this one stands as the best. I mean, that and The Devil and God are raging inside of me. But oh my god, this is an emo rock opera about someone dying and facing death and accepting it. And after it's a cancer patient who dies and looks back on their life and contemplates the ideas of death and then come to accept it in the end. And it's so beautiful and poignant and touching throughout the entirety of the record. And every song on it is just amazing, mind-blowing, 10 out of 10 stuff. I mean, oh my god, I don't even know where to start when talking about this record. I don't want to talk about it forever, but this is one of the greatest records of all time. And I think I need to sit down and do a review on it. And that's going to be my goal. I'm going to review the Black Parade. I don't want to say too much now, and this is a spur-of-the-moment thing, but I'm going to review it. I don't even know where I would begin to start talking about it in this section with so little time. Every song is something that's completely impacted me utterly as a person. I mean, they've got bangers like the opener of Dead. It has these really playful guitars, and it's definitely a lot more playful than a song you think would be about you dying would be about. Of course, it starts with the end. You hear the kind of beeping of a heart monitor, and then, of course, it goes into Dead. So it's him dying. And then the rest of the record is this cancer patient who's talked about lung cancer grappling with the idea of him being dead, looking back on his life on songs like, of course, Cancer. It talks about his condition. I say his, the patient. The patient is our main character. It talks about their condition. I Don't Love You is a look back on kind of the heartbreak and him having to turn his back on someone who he used to adore and love. And it's a completely heartbreaking and heart-wrenching song, one that throughout the years has been there for me, especially the kind of final part. And when you go, would you have the guts to say, I don't love you like I loved you yesterday? Is an amazing moment, and one that just punches me in the stomach. Speaking about kind of gut punches, is Disenchanted, kind of looking back on your childhood and your life and some of the disillusionment that's happened as you grew up and watch things kind of become gray and the cynicism of your life, and kind of saying goodbye to things, and that being the follow-up to Famous Last Words, which is the final acceptance of what's happened and you moving on. And Gerard kind of steps out of the character and says, even though death is coming, I am not afraid to keep on living. And that's something that stuck with me for so long, is that even though death is inevitable, we can't be afraid of it. We can't be afraid to keep living our lives. And that's one of the most amazing, beautiful statements ever put onto wax for a record. Oh my god, I don't even know. So many other amazing songs. It's got my favorite My Chemical Romance song, probably. I don't know, it's so hard to choose one. Sleep, which is a terrifying song. It is the moment of death, him recollecting on that, about the final kind of closing your eyes and slipping away. And it's a terrifying song. And it portrays dying as horrifying. Even though this record's about ultimately accepting death, this song itself is a nightmare. The hardest part, or letting go of your dreams, Of course, the beginning with the sample of the guy talking about having night terrors, and the ending of the song where things just blow up and the guitars swell, and hidden under the cascade of guitars is Gerard screaming like blood curdlingly like loud. And one of the most terrifying moments ever. Of course, there's Mama, which is about kind of the horrors of life. And it's so kind of sarcastic and biting, and also has this huge, like, Baroque influence and makes it feel, like, so theatrical and over the top in the best way possible. It's got that big, huge, like, sing along chorus. And if you go, don't blame us, yeah. We'll let the fire just bathe us. Yeah, you made us all so famous. We'll never let you go. And I haven't even talked about the big hit from this record yet, Welcome to the Black Parade, which is about kind of crossing over to death. And then what kind of the people around you experience, and kind of him being like, carry on, you'll carry on, you're broken and defeated, but your weary widow will march on. And it's just a completely huge anthemic song. Of course, the opening's iconic, the G note, and then it goes into this amazing song. Once again, so theatrical, but it's such an anthem. It's got the like trumpets and stuff on it. The entire thing is just mind blowing. Maybe you can say it's overplayed, but there's a reason it's overplayed, because it is just a masterpiece. Everything about that song is amazing. And the same can go for Famous Last Words, which is the other kind of really big anthemic song that I mentioned earlier. And every song on this record's amazing. You've got House of Wolves, which is an absolute banger, kind of talking about sin and kind of the bad things you've done. The Sharpest Lives and This Is How I Disappear are two songs I've always kind of intertwined with each other. They feel like kind of a 1-2 punch for some reason. I always like kind of have them connected almost as one song in my mind. Not to say either of them are bad. There's a reason I love this record so much. I think the two work together so well it feels more like one song to me. And then Teenagers is probably the weakest song on the record, but it's still an amazing song. It kind of breaks the narrative of the story a little bit, but I can forgive it because everything else is so amazing. And Teenagers is still an amazing song. I mean, this is, like I said, one of my favorite records of all time. I need to take a deep dive and review the Black Parade. But while I'm here, check out the three B-sides for this too. Heaven Help Us, Kill All Your Friends, and The Only Way Home Is Through You. All three absolutely amazing songs. Honestly, if I had to rank those three songs like an EP among these 5 records, I'd probably put them at number 2. They're that good. So go listen to the Black Parade B-sides as well. And listen to the Black Parade if you've never heard it. We're like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? This is one of the greatest albums ever made. Bar none. Even Fantano agrees. Fantano gave this thing a 10. I think Brad Taste in Music gave it like a 9. ARTV loves it. Rock love it. All the other critics think this thing is just as amazing as I do. Even ones who wouldn't typically like a band like MCR. So you know this record is of the highest quality. It is so poignant and absolutely life-changing. It's something you need to hear. So I want to sit down and do a formal review of the Black Parade sooner or later. I'll do it one day, I promise. And that's a promise to myself. Maybe sooner rather than later. We'll see. Maybe even for Halloween. Anyway, yeah, I hope you liked this video. I haven't done this in a while. The last ranked I did was completely scripted. This one, I just kind of talked off the cuff. I didn't even listen to any of these. Well, I listened to the Conventional Weapons beforehand. But the rest of these, I don't even really need to listen to because I'm just so familiar with this band's discography inside and out. I think it's near flawless. The only song I really don't like out of their 4 main albums is Sing. So yeah, let me know what you think of this. If you want to see me rank more bands kind of like this, leave a like. Subscribe if you're new. These videos don't always do as well, so make sure you comment and let me know you enjoyed it. It's been a while, so I just kind of pocketed the camera for a bit and didn't do like a reaction or something. So I really hope you enjoyed. I know I did. Yeah. I'll see you all next time.